Indiana, in our capital city. We're hosting the Super Bowl, and we're extending the great Hoosier hospitality that our state is known for. But our mission here today is to recognize that with all of the visitors from around the world, where we have an opportunity to celebrate all the great things of our Hoosier state, we also have to recognize some of the problems that come with major sporting events and come with large crowds, particularly of men. So today, I'm happy to have as one of our guests to our Hoosier state, a colleague and friend of mine, Rob McKenna, who's the Attorney General of the state of Washington, this year's president of the National Association of Attorneys General. As Rob's presidential initiative back in June in Chicago, he challenged each of us, all of his colleagues as Attorneys General, to focus on the problem, the national and international problem of human trafficking. This is something that he should be congratulated for bringing it to our attention, but also challenging us to go back to our home states and raise public awareness, check to see whether our statutes and our ability to have prosecution and law enforcement efforts to fight human trafficking are sufficient, and to really raise the public demand that things change. When I left Chicago, I had the Office of the Attorney General look through our statutes. We found that there were some very significant problems in our statutory structure to combat the traffickers. So over the last few months, we've worked with the Indiana General Assembly. I'm proud to say that they stepped up unanimously to pass the very first bill out of this year's General Assembly, Senate Bill 4, that passed without any opposition. It was supported by both House and Senate and both parties. So it's something that people came together recognizing this is an issue and something that I'm proud of, that the state has acted so quickly prior to the Super Bowl. But I do want to have our president of the association, the leader of Attorneys General, and my friend from Washington State come in.
Are to be congratulated on bringing attention to the problem of sex trafficking and human trafficking in Indiana. The passage of that legislation unanimously as the first bill to pass out of the Indiana legislature is a great accomplishment on their part and on the part of the legislature. I'm very, very grateful to them for stepping up, because now we have more than 20 states that have gone back and strengthened their laws, helping to advance one of the 4 pillars of our initiative to end human trafficking in our country and eventually in our world. The pillars are, first of all, to make the case that human trafficking exists. You know, a lot of us were not aware how severe the problem, the tragedy of human trafficking. Began to teach me that not only do we have international victims of human trafficking, as many as 17,000 people a year smuggled into our country for forced servitude, for the sex trade, and so on, but between 1 and 300,000 U.S. citizens and residents being trafficked domestically as well. So the first pillar is to make the case, to establish how significant this problem is by gathering data. Today you're going to see some examples of that kind of data when Brad Dennis shares information with you about the huge upsurge in advertising online for prostitution, for sex trafficking victims. It's a great example of what we're trying to accomplish. Secondly, our second pillar is to prosecute the traffickers. This is key, because we need to show the bad guys that we will come after them. We will prosecute traffickers. We will prosecute the patrons, the people who buy other human beings. That's crucial, and the legislation in Indiana helps advance that cause. Third, it's about rescuing the victims. The third pillar is to rescue the victims, and that means understanding, first of all, that they are victims. For too long, we have treated prostitutes as if they're the criminals. We have to understand that they are being prostituted. It is being done to them. And we have to understand the shocking truth that the average age of entry into forced prostitution is between the ages of 12 and 14. Let me repeat that. The average age of a girl brought into forced prostitution is between 12 years old and 14 years old in our country. It is horrifying, and yet it is happening every day in nearly every community of our country. We need to provide services for them. They have to have a safe place to come, to be rescued, to go to break that link between their captors, their traffickers, and themselves. And number 4, we need to end demand for trafficking victims. We need to make it clear that as a country, as a people, as a culture, we will no longer tolerate any of our fellow citizens buying other human beings or renting other human beings. And that is exactly what is going on. We have to undergo a cultural paradigm shift in our country, away from the mythology perpetuated by Hollywood and by some online publishers that prostitutes are happy-go-lucky entrepreneurs, that somehow they're volunteering to be in this life. They are not. They desperately want out, and they often don't know how to get out before it's too late. So we have to teach our fellow citizens that it is not acceptable to buy sex or anything else involving a trafficked human being. And that's why we're here in Indianapolis as well. Attorney General Zeller, all of the fantastic nonprofits who are here, the NGOs, the activists, the leaders who are here, are helping to spread the word about human trafficking in connection with the Super Bowl, because it turns out that every major sporting event, including the World Cup, has become a magnet for traffickers. And you're going to see graphic evidence of that in just a few moments. So those are the 4 pillars. End demand, recognize and rescue the victims, prosecute the traffickers and the patrons, and make the case that we all need to be working on this as people who care about our fellow human beings. The National Association of Attorneys General is proud to be helping to lead this effort. With more than 50 state and territorial AGs engaged, we're helping to advance this cause, push it ahead much more rapidly. We are not only going to be working on it during my term as president, but we have decided together that we will make human trafficking a permanent part of the National Association of AG's efforts. Thank you very, very much.
Indiana has truly set a foundation by cementing these 4 pillars here in this state. They have set the benchmark for every single state out there to follow suit. And quite frankly, that's exactly the reason why we started the Tackle the Trafficker initiative 4 years ago. Anna Rodriguez of Florida Coalition Against Human Trafficking and the Class Kids Foundation stepped up and stated that we want to use the Super Bowl as our excuse. Not the reason, but the excuse. The excuse to ignite communities and ignite nonprofits and government agencies and get them on board and create this groundswell movement about human trafficking to be able to once and for all stop modern-day slavery. And that's exactly what the Tackle the Trafficker initiative is all about. This year's partners is Free International out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and Oregonians Against Trafficking Humans. And so this year we have done a number of different phases to our approach. The very first one of those phases is our online monitoring. There's been a lot of media attention to online advertising, and the fact remains is this: these online advertisers are profiting. They're profiting off of our children and off of this scourge of our society. And I think this year's monitoring truly does prove that. We began our monitoring efforts on December 8th. On December 8th, and here in Indianapolis on Backpage, there was 3 escort ads. Last night, just 2 days prior to the Super Bowl, there was 129 ads soliciting for escort services and prostitution services. They constantly will talk about how the Super Bowl is not a magnet for this, yet we have seen countless examples of young girls being brought here into Indianapolis from other surrounding states for the sole purpose of this. And the sole purpose you can read in their own headlines on Backpage. They are advertising for Super Bowl. And that's the type of stuff that has to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is to get these types of groups together. Our other major reason for this, though, and the reason why our foundation is so invested in this, is that many of these young boys and young girls that are involved in the scourge of human trafficking are literally our missing children, America's missing children. 2,200 children disappear every single day in the United States. And it's time that we wake up that there is other types of predators out there other than just sexual predators. There are also human trafficking predators.